Hi cherubs! This week we're learning all about rainforests and deserts, and I wanted to do just a little introduction so that we could start talking about them. So, do you know what a rainforest is? How about a desert? Do you know what a desert is? So, a rainforest is very warm with tall trees, lots and lots of green plants. They're warm and they tend to be right in the center of the earth. And I'll show you what I mean in just a few minutes. Do you know what a desert is? So the desert is really dry and warm, right? And there's not as many trees. There tends to be a lot of dry sand. And they're still warm, but they don't get as much rain as a rainforest. So I'll show you what I was talking about. So rainforests all tend to be right on this middle area of the earth where it's really warm and there's lots of rainfall. Deserts tend to be where it's warm, but where there's not as much rainfall. So the deserts sometimes fall, like right here is very yellow. And that's because it's warm, but there's not as much rain. And right below, it's a little more yellow. And so those are where our deserts and rainforests usually fall. But what kind of animals live in these areas? What animals live in a rainforest? Do you know any? Let's talk about them. So the rainforest tends to have a lot more colorful animals. They're animals that like to live in the trees or that like to live with all the rain. And they have jaguars and toucans and sloths and oftentimes monkeys. And these animals love the warm and the moisture. But what kind of animals live in the desert? Let's think. So desert animals tend to be less colorful because usually they blend in with where they're living. So there's snakes and coyotes and rabbits, and most of the time they live under the ground or in rocks or behind bushes and stuff, but there's not tall trees. There's not a lot of tall trees in the desert. So when we're talking about what kind of animals live in the rainforest and the desert, we have to remember that the animals live where they best fit in. So if an animal is colored like the rocks in the desert, it probably does really well in the desert. And if an animal eats lots of tropical fruit and likes to climb in the trees, it probably will do really well in the rainforest. But let's talk about water. Do you know where we get our water from? Let's think. So last week we talked about oceans, and we know that all the blue is the ocean water. But can we drink the ocean water? We can't. Even though we're surrounded by all this water, that's not where we get our drinking water from. Because this is salty. It's got salt all in it and it tastes icky. So we can't drink that water, and it wouldn't be good for us to drink that water. So we get our water from lakes and rivers and reservoirs, things that are encapsulated or inside of, surrounded by all of the land. Now, we get rain, right? Rain is when water is evaporated, so it warms up and turns into little particles and goes up into the air and forms clouds, and then it rains down, and that's clean water too. But it's important to remember we sometimes have to be careful with our water because we don't have a lot of it. There's not oceans and oceans of water that we can drink. We only have little bits of water here and there, like Lake Tahoe to us may be big and it's fresh water that we could drink. But compared to the size of the ocean, it's tiny. That's a short intro to our Deserts and Rainforest Week, and we will be talking lots more about the water cycle and about animals, but I just wanted to get us started for the week. Thanks, cherubs!